Hello, and welcome back to a Fishy Plant Man plant video with me, Fishy Plant Man, as your host. Today, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about, but there has been some things that make me think that the tank should get at least one more feeding. One is the spike for the Phalaenopsis has started dying back again. And I think that is more because the fruit of the pothos here kind of blocks it, and not being able to see the mother plant, I'm not really aware of the missed water days. So there she is back there. Yeah, I didn't take the paperwork off of the pumpkin. But yeah, she kind of gets neglected back there because, I can't see that she needs water every day. I know that she does, but sometimes out of sight, out of mind. But regardless, I fed the tank, and as it got a top up, it also got more calcium because I've moved to adding calcium to the water every time it gets topped up. So there's that. And the other thing I kind of wanted to mention, my ponytail palm. Because I've, kind of rediscovered it today, as a matter of fact. And I got to thinking, is this a good size? There's kind of all of it. But the trunk, I'm kind of leaving the leaves out of it because, like up here, they're bent over, and the height of leaves, I don't think really counts. It's kind of like measuring a fish or a lizard from its nose to the end of its tail. Yeah, maybe fish, like commercial fishing and stuff. But a lot of people, especially with lizards, only measure from, might even be between the eyes, but from the nose to the vent. Because the tail could be longer or shorter depending on the species. Broken off, grown back, broken off, partially grown back. So you get better measurement if you only go to the vent. And in this case, I think I'm going to kind of apply that by, talking about the trunk's measurements or the stem's measurements, which I didn't think to bring a tape measure over here, but I can estimate. The trunk is, about 4 inches, and maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches round. So if anybody knows ponytail palms, maybe you've had one for, in this case, I guess the minimum would be about 10 years or longer. Maybe you can, give me an idea if that seems to be good growth, amazing growth, could be doing better. And I really don't think it's going to come back as amazing with as often as I trim the brown tips of the leaves. I would think that if I was doing an amazing job taking care of this plant, I wouldn't have brown tips. On my growing scale, which is a, 4-point scale. Goes from, I guess, 0 to 3. Um, on that, I would put it 2 point something, maybe 2.5. It is growing. Um, I mean, brown tips are its only problem. It does seem to be growing. So, it's well above 2, but nowhere near, 3.0, which would be amazing. I can't believe it's doing so well. So, 2.5. It is growing. It's not growing how I imagined it would grow, because sometime before getting this plant, a few years before getting it, I saw the biggest one I've ever seen. At least in, person, actually seeing it. Like, I see this one, you're seeing it in a video, but I'm seeing the actual plant. It was the biggest one I've ever seen. I think, if I can remember right, the person said it was about 30 years old. I'm not sure this is on track to look, well, it's certainly not on track to look like that, but I don't know that if in another 20 years it's going to look like that plant that I fell in love with. But I really don't know. I have noticed some plants, when they're young, it's really hard to see back there, but behind the frog is a little variegated lucky bamboo. And I think it's destined to eventually die. But it's certainly not, growing like the larger ones. We will see. Maybe that's the only problem. Maybe this has got to get a little bit bigger before it takes off. I don't know. If you've had one of these for, 7 years or more, maybe you can, give me an idea of how I'm doing. Like I said, it can't be, that great given the brown tips that I'm always getting. But who knows? Maybe I'm doing a little better than I think. So, on that, like I said, that variegated lucky bamboo back there's got, looks like about 2 leaves left. I don't think it's going to make it. This shoot is not as old, but it's bigger. It's certainly doing better. But it is off, another more established shoot. The same is true. We'll come over here. I'll just slowly walk over here, although it may be too fast on video still. Now, this one's not doing as well. We got a dead leaf there, a dead leaf there, and I think that it doesn't really have, a main shoot, because it's right there in front of the hummingbird. It's kind of going through the beak. Well, it's in front of the beak of the hummingbird. But that is like the newest leaf, and it looks like it's dead about halfway down. So I don't know if that shoot's going to be able to continue. But if we follow it down, it's the one that, comes down and then bends over and then down. It does this chair thing. But it's got a new shoot shooting up there, kind of like the other one over on the other fish tank. And then this is a new shoot, so, Each one of those belongs to its own main stock, but they've both got a new growing tip. This one because I've cut it off, and this one maybe because it's lost its growing tip. We'll see. I'm sure these new shoots would like to get off from under the rubber tree there, but they should be able to do that on their own, given, another 6 months or so maybe, and they'll pass it up. At least that's the idea. We'll see if it happens. Okay, that's kind of the good and bad news for this week. I'll talk to you next time.